This is so sad. And she is to blame. Hello, my fam. It is Perez, the queen of all media, the original influencer, and your number one source for everything It Ends With Us saga. It's important to sometimes take a step back and look from above at the carnage left in the wake of self-defaming Serena. Suella No Chill has not just sued Justin Baldoni, but she is suing so many others. His producing partner, Jamie Heath, the billionaire co-founder of his production company, Steve Sarowitz, the production company, his publicist, Jen Abel, the crisis communications expert, Melissa Nathan, and now we are hearing directly from Jen Abel, his longtime publicist. This is only the second time ever that Jen Abel has spoken about this saga in a personal level. Some of you remember what Jen Abel said 9 months ago when this whole thing first went legal. She took to her social media then and said, "Hi, I never thought the day would come when I needed to defend myself with my own peers." She shared this in a private group for just publicists. Jen Abel continued saying, "But this certainly has been an interesting and devastating, quite frankly, couple of days. So here we are, but here are the facts." Remember, this was 9 months ago, before we all found out the disgusting details of the Van Zan of it all. You know, the sham way that the shampoo company owner was able to legally be in possession of Jen Abel's text messages and emails. Stephanie Jones. Jen Abel continued, "I found out my private text messages and emails were included in the complaint after I received it on Friday night. And then the New York Times contacted me 1.5 hours after receipt. They had already reviewed the 80-page document and had questions prepared." Collaboration. In cahoots. And his publicist continued, apparently also received thousands of pages of documents with our correspondence that we never saw. So it was clear this was a coordinated effort, but nothing we haven't seen before since I've been working in talent PR for over 15 years now. I had recently left my previous firm, Jones Works, at which I was still with during this campaign, with a team who all participated in the campaign and a boss who oversaw, and who had access to my work emails and work phone. So you can deduce from that what you will. What the cherry-picked messages don't include, although not shockingly, as it doesn't fit the narrative, is that there was no smear implemented. No negative press was ever facilitated. No social combat plan, although we were prepared for it as it's our job to be ready for any scenario. But we didn't have to implement anything because the internet was doing the work for us. Y'all, I'm so glad I revisited this statement before sharing what Jen Abel just told us this week. But 9 months later, this is just crazy. Of that combat plan, in her statement from just after Delulu filed the lawsuit, Jen Abel said, quote, "Sure, we talked about it, contemplated if we needed certain things, flagged accounts that we needed to monitor, worked with a social team to help us stay on top of the narrative so we could act quickly if needed, and yes, we rejoiced and joked in the fact that fans were recognizing our client's heart and work without us having to do anything but keep our heads down and focus on positive interviews for our client. As the texts show, we sophomorically reveled and again joked privately to each other about the internet's feedback to the woman whose team was making our lives incredibly difficult over the course of the campaign. I'm human. The long hours, months of preparation, on top of my day-to-day scope, it felt good to see that although we were prepared, we didn't have to do anything over the top to protect our client. Incredibly difficult, you say? In what way? Funny you should ask. I was notified at the start of the campaign that the opposing team had been planting horrible stories about my client as a failsafe if my client did not comply with the demands set forth for the campaign. I forgot about that part. But I recently said, I think repeatedly, if anybody could complain or argue about a retaliatory smear campaign, it's Justin Baldoni. And if this goes to trial, which I'm still not sure of, that will definitely be factored in and litigated. Jen Abel continued about the planting of stories, saying, which is why we brought on Crisis, Melissa Nathan, as it's not something that I do. My sole job was to put together interviews, screening opportunities, and speaking opportunities for my client in support of the film, a standard scope of work. I did my job. Jen Abel continued, now what kind of woman would work against another woman who was a victim of all the things being claimed? Thanks for asking. After reviewing the evidence, facts, hard proof that countered every single thing that was being claimed and demanded at the start of production, I made a choice to stand by my client of almost 5 years, who had dedicated his life to the equal treatment of others, especially women, who had no incidents of negative treatment of others. Pause. We have since learned that's not true. I like to be fair. I am team the truth. But let's let Jen Abel finish what she had to say. And who had a wonderful community and team at Wayfarer who all held the same moral fortitude and lived their life accordingly. As representatives, we all have to make that choice. So I did that to the best of my ability and felt good about our efforts. Is my client perfect? No. In fact, he says that he's not perfect. So constantly, to the point I tell him he needs to be less self-deprecating because it could be taken the wrong way. Are Blake's feelings valid? It's not my position to say or speculate what she was feeling in these moments that she claims, and I would never slam a woman for speaking her truth. But at the end of the day, if it's not the truth, and there is evidence that proves otherwise, then as a representative, I have to do what I feel is right. So, as I have been chronicling, a lot has changed and happened since that statement 9 months ago. And now, this week, yesterday, Jen Abel took to her social media again to share the following. Jen Abel posted alongside a telling song, Michael Bublé's Feeling Good, quote, "Today marks 1 year of RWA." That's the name of her new solo PR agency, the one that she started after leaving JonesWorks. The one that Stephanie Jones heard she was planning to launch, and then Stephanie got all wicked stepmother over. But now that it's been 12 months of her solo PR agency, Jen Abel is reflecting back on what a year it's been. She says, "It's bittersweet. While I'm tremendously proud, with an overwhelming appreciation for all small business owners, as this past year has been nothing but picking myself up by my bootstraps and learning as I go, there's a sadness. I remember how excited and hopeful I was to start 2025 as a founder, with dreams of limitless possibilities, the excitement of the unknown, and the pride in having the courage to start something new after all these years in the industry working for others. And then, only 3 months later, to have that joy ripped from me by her. I know the happiness will eventually return. Oh, that means it hasn't. I get it, girl. I get it. My 3-month taste of this toxicness, being dragged into the legal nightmare, was 3 months too long. And Jen Abel and Justin Baldoni have been dealing with this since 2023. Even though the critically acclaimed Teen Choice Award winner didn't file her lawsuit until December of 2024, the saga began privately in 2023. The amount of exhaustion, physically, mentally, spiritually, that Baldoni, Heath, Abel, and others have had to deal with, sending you all the positive vibes and the happiness. But Jen Abel knows the happiness will eventually return as my team and I continue to persevere and do what we love, working alongside some of the brightest minds in the entertainment industry and beyond. RWA is named after one of my greatest heroes, someone who always stands for what's right and just, who thinks bigger than himself, and always leads with kindness and respect for others. I have to go look up now who RWA is named after. Jen Abel, if you're watching, let us know in the comments section what RWA is named for. Who are you talking about? Because I have done a search multiple ways and I can't find that information. And I'm very curious. Baldoni's longtime publicist ends her message commemorating a somber anniversary that hopefully in the future will be a much more joyous one. She says, "That legacy of RWA will live on in the work that we do." And she's feeling good, or trying to manifest feeling good. This is not giving me feeling good vibes. She's not happy, but the happiness will eventually return as soon as this legal nightmare is over. And until then, make sure to grab your friends and wear your florals at buypopstuff.com. You can get that merch that I sell, plus all of my other merch collections at buypopstuff.com. Or you can be entertained and informed and get an exclusive podcast a week on our Patreon. Sign up today at patreon.com/my name, P to the E to the R to the E to the Z to the H to the I to the L to the T to the O to the N, or get a personalized video from me for a friend, a coworker, a family member, yourself. Book one right now on the Cameo website at cameo.com/P to the E to the R to the E to the Z to the H to the I to the L to the T to the O to the N. Thank you for watching to the end. You are the 1%. You are epic. You are epic. If you made it to the end, say epic in the comments section. And thoughts on what Jen Abel shared? Let's talk it all through. You know where.